Bourbon Barkeep, my name's Curtis. We got an absolute treat today. We got Jack Daniel's 12-year Batch 3, newest batch sent down from the heavens themselves, or just from Tennessee. Let's pour it up, see if it's good, and is it worth the chase? If it wasn't for Jack Daniel's 14, I feel like Jack Daniel's 12, that's one of those bottles that people will camp out for days and days. And I'm like, is it worth it? I don't know. Not my life. Anyways, batch 3, let's see. Batch 2 seemed to be on a little bit of a downswing. Was it because batch 1 was just so good? Was it just the new toy? Batch 2, I felt like I didn't see in a lot of top 10 whiskey of the years, but it was still great. But here we are, batch 3, sticking with 107 proof. This year, $95. How do they have that value? I mean, I feel like it just kind of amps up the secondary market maybe, but I don't know. Who am I? This is still your typical Jack Daniel's mash bill, so whatever sweet miracles are happening in that barrel between 12 years and old number 7, I'll never understand it. That's why I'm just here behind a table in a basement. But it's 80% corn, 12% malted barley, and 8% rye. We're going to keep this short and sweet. I don't think we need to get into stories. We just want to see, is the juice good? Is it worth chasing? How much should we pay for it if you do find it on the shelf for not $95? Let's get it on the nose. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and we'll just see where the episode takes us and your subscribership. I think that's what it is. A lot of cherry, thick vanilla, just a beautiful vanilla custard. You still got that barrel char, which I feel like is kind of this flagship of what certainly the 12-year kind of brings to the table. That barrel char with that vanilla custard. It's pretty easy to kind of get into that toasted sugar realm. I mean, it's rich, deep, dark goodness. A little molasses in there, a little dark brown sugar. We're just going to stick with the dark stuff. If you're familiar with the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof or some of the other Jack Daniels out there, I feel like they have this really fun kind of banana bread to them. If you would have told me 2 years ago, hey, you're going to really enjoy banana tasting notes in your whiskey, I would have said absolutely not. But somehow they pull it off. But if you're looking for those banana notes, I'm not getting any on at least the 12-year piece of it. This is still going, kind of like this really great baking spice. If there was a fruit, you got that cherry, maybe like a Luxardo cherry or even like a raisin to it. Pretty excited to get this on the palate, keep this episode rolling. Cheers. God, that's well done. Sweet Jesus, that's well done. If you've seen the channel before, I really enjoy that really 107 to like 115 proof area. I feel like it gives just a great experience on the tongue without absolutely blowing your socks off. This one, no different. The viscosity is fantastic. It explodes on the tongue and covers your entire mouth hole, and you love what it's blowing into your mouth. It is still this beautiful oak and barrel char. Somehow this barrel char just hangs with just this sweetness of the brown sugar and vanilla custard, and that toasted sugar continues. That brown sugar is still there. It is delightful. The finish, not only is it viscous and hangs on your tongue for dear life, because I'm still just experiencing it at this point, the hug is great. Even at that 107 proof, it's every bit what you would want it to be. If you wanted something lower proofed, if you're talking about their barrel proof stuff, it's still just a great hug, hangs forever. They've done it. Sip 2, let's see if anything else pops out, or does the hug subside a little bit? Was it that first initial, that was way too aggressive hug, and now that person that you just met is like, I'm going to tame this back a bit. Maybe we'll do a side hug. Let's see. Sip 2, I felt like the barrel char took just a tiny step back, and you were like, no, don't leave. Just stay here for a little bit. And it does, because it's still there. But there was a little more sweetness that started to come out, maybe like a cherry cola, I would say. Obviously flat. I don't know. Maybe it's not. That rye just does kind of give you a little tickle on the tongue, a little tingle on the tongue. And I'm here for it. When you're talking about balanced pours, this would be Exhibit A, if you will. There's this really nice leather that has started to kind of nudge barrel char off of the forefront. And you're like, hey, we like you both. Just stay here. But that leather, barrel char, and like a toffee. It's like just a rich, almost overcooked caramel that it brings you through this massive flavor wheel of everything that you would say, I want to taste that. I want to taste that. Grass, I think I'll pass. Batch 2 may have been down. I heard it was a little drier than what batch 1 was, but batch 3 brought back this rich sweetness, this deep, dark sweetness. That is exactly what you would want if you were chasing this blind. And you're like, man, I hope they figured out batch 3, because batch 2 was, I don't want to suck on a belt, but they did it, and I'm proud of them. Now, I do have a little bit of batch 1 left. So you have this unicorn bottle of batch 1 exploded onto the scene. Now keep in mind, this was pre-Russell's 15. So this was the belle of the ball, if you will. I want to put these together. See, is this kind of worth that hype of what batch 1 kind of exploded onto the scene with? And then we're getting into some scoring and maybe a price recommendation that you're not going to enjoy. If you're new to the channel, we do a house call Wednesday where we do 2 blind pours. I'm explaining this, obviously, for you to click on that. But this is going to be batch 1 over here, our glass A, if you're familiar with the house call Wednesday. Our batch 3 is in B. So trying to follow along. Hopefully that helps. I'll try and throw like a little text thing down below. But this isn't going to be a full review on batch 1 because pretty sure they're about $400 or $500 on secondary at this point. I wouldn't do it, but I just want to see, is it similar? Because it does seem like they kind of went back to this sweet, rich, semi-fruity tasting profile. So let's see. I think batch 3 may have a little more sweetness on the nose piece of it. Batch 1 seems to have a little more oak, a little more leather on the nose, where, I mean, leather's kind of reaching. I don't feel like I mentioned it in the nose piece of it. Yeah, this goes a little more batch 3. I'll try and help out. Batch 3 goes into a little more of that brown sugar. I feel like that cola, that cherry cola comes out a bit more. Batch 1, oaky, more oaky. I feel like I get a little more barrel char on batch 3 in a good way, but rich caramel, cherry. Let's see what we got on the palate. Go back to back. Batch 1, a little more tannic, a little more drying, which I didn't experience on batch 3 here. A lot more barrel char. That thing comes absolutely rip-roaring through, and you're kind of here for it. You're excited because it's a 12-year-old whiskey. Toffee, molasses, seems to be darker profile, lacking the sweetness that batch 3 has. I loved batch 1. I wasn't opposed to anything that I'm saying at this point, but that tobacco, leather, toffee, barrel char, probably like almost like the skin of a cherry. Like it doesn't have that juiciness to it, probably because that oak and that tannic piece of it is just kind of zapping the tongue a little bit. Real quick, I think batch 3 may be better. I think what batch 3 is bringing to the table has that complexity between that leather and smokiness and oak kind of coming through, but it is layered with this really nice brown sugar and even like maybe like an espresso bean. I don't think I get the chocolate on there, but I think that the balance of what batch 3 has, I think I enjoy it more than batch 1. That's alarming because I loved batch 1. I do love batch 1, but putting it side by side, it brings out a lot more earthiness, leather and tobacco Now it's influencing it a little bit, but ultimately I'm getting the tasty notes that I'm spewing out of my mouth. To wrap this up, if you enjoyed batch 1, can't fully speak to batch 2, but batch 1 to 3, it has this really nice sweetness that I think it's going to be extremely well received at this point. So now we got to get into grading. What are we actually looking at here? So we have our census categories. What does 55 mean? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Well, now you do. This one, yeah, that's gonna do well. I'm gonna go 93. I think I'm gonna go 93. I was kind of on 92. It's like, what is a 98? You know, you just are kind of scared to get there. This is the definition of what you want in that Nectar of the Gods category. I don't care what the label says. That is a phenomenal pour. I think it's a touch below what Russell's 15 was. I think the proof kind of helped Russell's 15. I do enjoy that. As much as I like the 107, having that kind of barrel proof piece of it definitely probably influenced the Russell's 15 enjoyment. But ultimately, when you're talking about a category named Nectar of the Gods, this is exactly what I would want in the glass. And I feel really, really good about it. Now we also do a little bang for the buck here. This is 95 SRP. I got it for 120. I have no regrets now. I mean, 120, you're at what? $10 per year. I feel like over 100 proof. You feel good about at least the value that you're getting in terms of what the specs are. I would probably go up to 150. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I saw it on the shelf, rarity certainly helps, but I feel like this punches above the 95 easily. I'm happy that I have one for 120. So bang for the buck's even gonna be good. I got every penny for sure. Bang for the buck has a bit of ambiguity to it, which makes it a little frustrating to score sometimes. I feel like I got my money's worth and I would pay above at $100. I feel like that should be heavily weighted. I don't feel like you can say that very often. Going up to 150, $60 more, $50 more, depending on your tax situation. I think I'm gonna go, what am I gonna go? I'm gonna go 81. That was close to 82. I'm gonna go 81. Feel like that may have been aggressive. Knock it down a point. We feel good about ourselves. But ultimately, if you're willing to pay almost double the price of what SRP is and feel like you got the money's worth, I understand there's the people out there that are happy with their old granddad 114 at $30. And Godspeed. Go for it. Sometimes you need a good bottle on the shelf. And not that old granddad 114 isn't. I love it. That celebratory pour, that's this guy. Happy hunting.